we'll get into these mock drafts. I'm going to tell you a little bit as time goes on. I don't have like a top 200 guys. I've got like guys that I like, and I'll bring them up as we see them go. Um, There's guys I think I'm certainly not like I'm not pretending to be like some. There was a time in my life where I probably wanted to be like a true draft guy. I don't mind draft guys, by the way. I'm not denigrating draft guys. I like the draft. I was trying really hard to work out a comedy show in because it's in Green Bay this year. And just a couple months ago, I was at Skyline Comedy Club, and I was like, I went to I talked about it on this podcast. I went to Lambeau, and I was like, the draft is at Lambeau this year. That'd be so, what a cool thing to go see at Lambeau. What a unique, fun thing to go see at Lambeau. I don't think it's going to work out. Because, I mean, it's just like, the amount of money I would make going out there, I would end up probably losing a couple $1,000s because it would be me taking like the lowest paying spot on a show with no lodging, and then paying to get into the draft and paying to fly, paying for lodging. Lodging is crazy expensive out there at that time. So I don't think it's going to work out. That's my guess. Maybe I'll be corresponding live from Green Bay, Wisconsin, but my guess is no. I love the draft. So we're gonna go through 2 mock draft simulators today. Is everyone excited? Does everyone love mock draft simulators? Is this good content? I don't know. I don't know if it's good content, but it's what we're gonna do today. Maybe we won't do it again in the future. Maybe I'll talk myself out of it in the future. But for now, we're gonna do the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator and the mock draft database.com simulator, and I'll explain both reasons why. Let's start out with, this is the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator, and I am the Seahawks with pick 18 in this draft. For the sake of just simplicity, I'm not going to do trades, okay? You can do a bunch of trades in these. It muddles the process. Yeah, I guess I'll start with this. We'll start this draft. I have it set to slow so I can talk in between picks a little bit. If I was at the top of this draft, I'm terrified to take Travis Hunter. I'm terrified to take either of the top quarterbacks. If I was at the top of this draft, I would want to take Mason Graham. I'm actually a little bit scared of Abdul Carter, frankly. Mason Graham or an offensive lineman. I think Travis Hunter it's going to be scary because you can't really have a guy that plays, you just can't have a guy playing 130 snaps a game in the NFL for very long. If an NFL team is going to treat Travis Hunter the way the Mariners are treating Cal Raleigh and just burn him, like run him till the wheels fall off, maybe you could do it. But good luck having that guy be viable on a second contract. So some of the guys that I like a lot have already gone. Like I said, I like Mason Graham quite a bit. I like Kenneth Grant. I think Kenneth Grant is the only nose tackle I would want. He's like a true nose tackle, I believe. This is my like amateurish scouting report. The problem with nose tackles, the reason why they're less valuable in a lot of cases, is because they're like 1.5 down players, maybe 2 down players. I think Kenneth Grant is a 2.5-ish down nose tackle. Tavondre Sweat last year was similar, where he was like a guy that had athleticism, that he could be like, if not a dominant pass rusher, someone who was like, didn't just shrink and disappear in the pass rush. Kenneth Grant has similar traits in that he's like very athletic for his size. So if you're in this spot, if the Seahawks are in this spot, I also don't think Will Johnson's going to last this long, probably. Where the Seahawks sit on this one, we're going to treat each one of these as though what's happening here and these rankings that they have and the way, because they're going to vary quite a bit. I think you start to look at this and you go, the obvious first need that the Seahawks have is offensive line. John Schneider has said, and I don't think he's gone back on this, by the way. I think a lot of people are reading into his offseason comments saying that, he's learned the error of his ways and he doesn't think that guards are overvalued anymore. I don't think that's true. I think that he does not want to draft a guard in the first round. I keep seeing Tyler Booker mocked to the Seahawks. Last year it was Troy Fautanu. I don't think the Seahawks are drafting a guard in the first round, but what I do think, like I said earlier, is they need a contingency plan if Charles Cross leaves in the offseason. So what they have the opportunity to do is draft a guy who is a legit left tackle prospect that can also move inside to guard. The other thing they can do, it's a strong defensive line draft. It's a strong tight end draft. It's a strong offensive line draft, is my understanding, and a strong running back draft. So the Seahawks, I don't think, need to overdraft or rush to get someone here. In this case, I'm going to take Armand Membu to be a guy that can move inside, as I understand it, by the way. I'm not out here scouting bend or whatever the fucking all the terms of art are for draft nicks. My understanding is Armand Membu, not only athletic enough to move around to function in a Clint Kubiak system, but also can move inside to guard. So I'm with this pick, the Seahawks are drafting Armand Membu in this simulation. I actually think that in that circumstance, as that draft fell, that's the kind of, I don't think the Seahawks are ever going to be a team that wants to be pressured into drafting a quarterback in the first round. But the way that fell, where there was not like an elite offensive line prospect or defensive line prospect available there, and I guess I got to go back and check because I think that Shamar Stewart was available. I believe Shamar Stewart is just like had zero production in college and that type of stuff. I don't really buy into college stats, but like when a guy is supposedly physically dominant but has zero production in college, that's a red flag. I think it's a position where they might draft Jackson Dart, is what I was getting at. I don't think they're going to ever feel forced to, but the way that fell, I believe I've like worked through this. I've done enough simulations on this. This is like an ASMR or fidget spinner, like ADHD diversion for me is to do these mock draft simulators. And I know that Jackson Dart's gonna be available in the second round on this mock draft simulator. I think anyway. There's sometimes there's randomness in this. I don't think that the Seahawks want to draft him that high. I also don't think he's gonna last to pick 50 in real life. So if he does, and I'm the Seahawks, here's another guy I like. I like Darian Porter quite a bit. We'll take a quick look. 6'4", 200. Played a lot of snaps. It's interesting, by the way. I'm not like the first one to express this or to notice it, but like what people care about with quarterbacks a lot more now is like how many starts at what level of competition. And Jackson Dart had a lot of starts in the SEC. That is very good. There are a lot of guys in this draft that have a lot of starts against high level competition. This is not a deep quarterback draft, but I think that the Seahawks, there's no reason the Seahawks should not be able to come out of this draft with a legit lottery ticket prospect at quarterback. So I know that the Seahawks, or I know that, like I said, Jackson Dart, he's ranked 122 by PFF. I don't think there's any way he lasts until, I certainly don't think he lasts till 122. I certainly don't think he lasts till 104.2, which is his average draft position on the aggregate in this in these mock simulations, the data they put together. These are the two guys I like the most. I like Jackson Dart and Quinn Ewers. After the first two, I like Jackson Dart and Quinn Ewers. If you can make a modest investment, second or third round pick in Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, I'm into that. I think Jalen Milroe's also very interesting. Like I said, I don't think that I would like him in the second or third round. If you can get him in the fourth round and you get him on the field. I think he's like a very dynamic player. Get him on the field. He's the kind of guy that I think you could carry as a third quarterback and let him develop behind Geno and Sam Howell. And I don't think that's necessarily true of a guy like Jackson Dart or Quinn Ewers. I don't think they provide some ancillary benefit that you could benefit from in 2025. So I'm gonna treat the draft as it is. Like I said, I'm gonna take a look at some of these other guys that are available. I get another guy I like Xavier Restrepo. I like Darian Porter. We drafted a tackle in the first round. I actually think Ariante Ursary is going to be a first round pick also, and a guy that he might be too big to move into guard, but I like him a lot. I don't really want to go offensive line because I don't think that's what the Seahawks are going to do. But if it were me, if I'm John Schneider, I'd be tempted to go offensive line. I also think Donovan Jackson, they have him listed as a tackle here. I think most people have him as a guard. And you saw up here Tyler Booker went 2 before the Seahawks picked. This is tough. Xavier Restrepo, in my opinion, and I could be wrong in this, is a little bit of a has an overlapping skill set. I don't think he's as complimentary to Jackson Smith and Jigba as some other prospects would be. So let me see. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So Jared Ivey. He's a guy I've seen in the first round. That's the kind of edge I think that the Seahawks will be looking for. A guy, he's listed at 6'6", 285. A lot of this might change after the combine when we get official weights on everyone. Although I imagine this 285 is, if it's been adjusted, it was from the Senior Bowl or the East-West Shrine Bowl. Guy that's 285 might be able to sneak over and play actually hand in the ground. I'm drafting Jared Ivey. Does anyone care about this yet? Nobody cares. Comment if you hate this or if you like it. I don't care. Tell me either. I deserve to have this information. I do think that'll be tempting in the first round. The 2 Texas A&M, I think they're both Texas A&M, right? The Stewart and Scorton are both, I believe, are both. Let me pause this real quick so it doesn't. I'm gonna pause. I'm not gonna offer a trade, but aren't they both Texas A&M? Shamar Stewart and where were you? Did he go earlier? Hold on. We'll find him. Oh, yeah. Scorton went right after. 2 picks after. Both 280, 290 edges. Whether they end up playing in the NFL at that weight and that size, I don't know. Whether they, again, I'm not scouting bend, grinding tape. I think that's the kind of guy the Seahawks are going to look for if they look for an edge. A guy that's by the way, Draymond Jones, I think, not at the price that he's going to cost if the Seahawks keep him on his contract, but I think that's a guy that makes a lot of sense in Seattle. A guy that can play the edge and that can line up on the line in a hybrid 3-4 defense. I think that's a guy that that makes a lot of sense in Seattle. But I don't think you're going to see them necessarily going after the Chris Clemens type, or maybe that might not be the perfect example, but a Bruce Irvin type, a guy that's strictly an edge, cannot play on the line. The Seahawks want, much like the Eagles had in the Super Bowl, they want to create pass rush by confusion, not necessarily by just strictly pushing more bodies towards the quarterback. So in this draft, my suspicion is, I think I wasn't watching super closely, but I think the Seahawks are probably in a position. Jackson Dart's still on the board. Quinn Ewers is still on the board. I don't want Jalen Milroe this high. I'm not big on Will Howard or Riley Leonard. Let's pull this off, see if there's anyone that's you can't live without. Okay. This is a guy that I like. One of my guys, we'll call him. Something about Ole Miss receivers. I think, if it weren't for Ohio State, we'd probably be talking a lot more about Ole Miss receivers. I like Trey Harris. I'll be curious to see what his measurables are. I like Trey Harris. I think he's going to go a lot higher than 82, frankly. He's 94th. I'm going to get a bad grade. They give you a grade at the end if you don't know. They give you a bad grade. I'm going to get a bad grade on PFF. I'm taking Trey Harris. He's one of my guys. I'm also, by the way, because of the way this draft because I've done it enough times, I'll probably get a shot at Quinn Ewers with one of the next 2 picks. I think a lot of times I've seen him be available for, we could speed this up now that we're in the later rounds, but I've seen Quinn Ewers lasting until that 172nd pick that the Seahawks have. I don't think that's happening. Well, I don't know. Quinn Ewers is one of those guys where I would say, like, I'm not an incredible quarterback evaluator. My worst ever evaluation was I thought Jevon Sneed, speaking of Ole Miss guys, by the way, I thought Jevon Sneed was going to be it. Back then, pro-style offense in a time when the NFL was more pro-style. Look, Jackson Dart still sitting there, pick 136. If that happens, first off, it either means that Jackson Dart has failed the pre-draft process from this moment on so badly. I mean, in this circumstance, you got to take Jackson Dart. If you believe in Jackson Dart at all, I think he's a quality prospect. I think that the Seahawks should not be viewing these prospects as though, even if they draft a guy in the first round, by the way, even if they draft Jackson Dart in the first round, they should be flexible and open to moving on from him if he's not the right fit at the position. They find out later, yeah, here you go. Quinn Ewers falls to, we're at 172. So yeah, I mean, at this point in the draft, I'm not going to pretend like I've got intimate knowledge of all of these guys and who I have ranked specifically. I'm going to pick guys based on the profile of player I think the Seahawks are going to want. We could draft Cody Simon. I don't know enough about Cody Simon to have a strong feeling. Anyway, I think at this point you're going to start seeing them draft. There's just so many good offensive line prospects, so many good defensive line prospects. I think they're going to start filling depth and draft it, but hopefully keep drafting best player available when possible. I'm drafting a center / theoretically most centers, I think, if they're not undersized, could probably slide over to guard. That might be, God damn. Listen, when I do this on my own, I do a lot of quarterbacks. I think the Seahawks could actually move on from Sam Howell and hold 2 quarterbacks. I'm not gonna force you to watch me draft Quinn Ewers, even though it's 184. We're in round 6. We'll look a little further down here. We did not fill. It's actually something I'm going to look at. Are there any nose tackles, like true nose tackles? Zeke Biggers, by the way, that's a great name for a nose tackle. Zeke Biggers is the best name for a nose tackle I've ever seen. Casey Hampton was pretty good. I don't know why. Casey Hampton feels like a 360-pound guy. Maybe it's just because the Casey Hampton that we knew but that feels like a big dude. I might be giving away something about my own body image also, but let's take the Johnny Walker Jr. If you're the Seahawks, do have a propensity. They drafted Michael Jackson. There was a Kobe Bryant. By the way, there's another Kobe Bryant in this draft. I'm going to draft Zeke Biggers as a guy who's going to spend a down and a half on occasion playing nose tackle. Quinn Ewers ends up with the Rams in this, by the way, if you saw that. That's a scary spot for him. Quinn Ewers under McVay on a late round pick. What a dream. I like Curtis Rourke. I've already drafted 2 offensive linemen, so I'm not going to draft Miles Frazier. I think that would be probably decent value here. Let's see who I have drafted. Have I forgotten? Have I been So, dang, I drafted 3 Ole Miss guys. I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but I do remember now. The Lane Kiffin to Mike McDonald pipeline. The pipeline never really existed before, but the moment Pete Carroll's gone, the pipeline opens. Boy. So I think the offensive line needs are covered. You got a young edge, young quarterback, young receiver, theoretically a nose tackle. I don't know if Zeke Biggers actually profiles as a nose tackle. I think it's at a point where drafting best player available makes some sense, ideally at a need position. I'm going to go one more. It's the 6th round. We're drafting another interior lineman. Just hammer the position. This probably is not realistic unless they don't make any free agent moves at interior line. But yeah, and I mean, as you get to this last part, you're like, who are we? I know a guy I like to draft at the end is Jabbar Muhammad. He might be gone already. could have gone. I don't know if Jabbar Muhammad's actually going to last until the 7th round. Did he? Oh, yeah. So he's 269th. So, like, projected as undrafted just about. 235th, I'll take Jabbar Muhammad. I'll take a flyer on Jabbar Muhammad. I don't think there's a single Husky that's going to get drafted this year, so take a flyer on a former Husky. Why not? I'm going to get a bad grade, like I said on this draft. My guess is a B- or a C. They like my Jackson Dart pick. It's usually not popular, Pro Football Focus, but they liked it this year, or this draft. Best pick of the draft is Miles Frazier, which I almost talked myself out of. A B. What do you think about this draft? What do you think if you're a Seahawks fan and they come out of the draft with this group of dudes? How do you feel? How do you feel about Membu stepping in as your starting left guard, theoretically becoming a left tackle option next year if Charles Cross leaves? I think that's the only way, by the way, that the Seahawks draft an offensive lineman in the first round is if that guy can be a left tackle in the NFL. It doesn't have to be in 2025, but if he can be a left tackle. All right, we're going to move on, and I'm going to tell you why I like Mock Draft Database a little bit. I wouldn't say more, but I like it in different ways. Is that the biggest hedge? So this is Mock Draft Database. By the way, they have a lot of really cool stuff on mockdraftdatabase.com. Right now we're on the simulator, but they have it's just like a wisdom of the crowd, like the aggregate big board, or what do they call it? Do they call it aggregate big board? Hold on, let's real quickly. Mock Draft Database. Consensus big board, that's what it is. So if you're like me and you're not someone that's like grinding through tape and trying to make your own 300 prospect big board, you can get like a rough feel, like a good head start on who are the. So we're going to look at I'm not going to actually, well, maybe I'll pull it up for a second. Does anyone give a shit about this? I don't think so. It's just a cool tool. Consensus big board, where the guy is projected to be drafted according to the big board. You can see, by the way, like I would not have the Seahawks draft Ashton Genty. I've seen some folks, I've seen some drafts, a handful of mock drafts where he's made it there, like these simulators, and in real life, I don't want the Seahawks to draft Ashton Genty. And if they do, I think there might be a fucking revolt from the analytics community. I think the running back position might be approaching being valuable, like the guy that's playing running back matters. I still think the vast majority of running games, the credit belongs to the offensive line and the scheme, but all right, we're going to we'll set up a draft. Hopefully I can change the speed because I'm going normal speed. I can't wait that long. So we're the Seahawks, 7 rounds, 2025 draft, etc., etc. We're not going to name this draft. We'll get it started. I'm too scared to. I pushed settings. What happened there? Oh yeah, okay. We're gonna enter the draft room. Come on now, and we'll start. How do you feel about Cameron Ward? By the way, I'm very interesting player, but it's just like the two quarterbacks at the top feel so volatile this year. Like if you draft, I'm terrified to draft a Sanders' son. I'm not going to make any trades, like I said, but you get prompted, you get push notifications of trades on this. So we're back in this situation. We have Ashton Genty fell to the Seahawks. I'm not going to draft him, like I said. Let's see. Okay, it looked like it was because of the resolution I had it at. I don't know if it was showing suggestions before. They're going to suggest Tyler Booker. They're going to suggest Shamar Stewart. I'm scared of Stewart because of the production. I would love to see. I will tell you this. I would have a very hard time if I know DK Metcalf is going to be gone, and obviously by the time the draft rolls around, DK Metcalf could be gone. I would have a very hard time not drafting Luther Burden, even though I think Burden is not necessarily a complementary piece to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he is an additional guy who maybe thrives in the slot. I would have a hard time not drafting Luther Burden. I like Luther Burden a lot. I'm scared to draft Shamar Stewart. I think I'm going to draft Kenneth Grant here. I don't think the Seahawks are going to want to draft a nose tackle in the first round. I think that especially if they view him as a guy that's going to play 2 downs, I don't think they're going to want to draft him in the first round necessarily, but it's a deep defensive line draft. It's a deep offensive line draft, etc., etc. By the way, I don't know. I was sweating this out. I could see it happening. There were a couple of offensive line prospects. Ariante Ursary was slipping down the board. And then Gray Zabel, who has become the pick everyone loves to mock to the Seahawks. A guy who I don't think they're gonna spend a first round pick on, and a guy who is pretty commonly being drafted or is being mocked in the first round now. So Gray Zabel's like the obvious pick here, I think. I think that especially if you skip offensive line in the first round, I like Jackson Dart at 50. I'd be thrilled if the Seahawks could get Jackson Dart at 50. Quarterback position is absolutely more valuable, but I do think Geno Smith is a good quarterback. I think it'd be very hard. This would become a tough pick for the Seahawks. In fact, and you can see, by the way, Trey Harris, another guy I like, is projected significantly higher in this draft. I think this is the kind of position where the Seahawks may be willing to, if a team was willing to, like move back 2 picks. With the assumption you're going to get one of the 2 guys you like and maybe add a little value. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to take Gray Zabel. I'm going to pretend like Jackson Dart never existed. I've never heard of him. I'm going to be upset when he becomes a Pro Bowler somewhere, but he got it. I mean, Gray Zabel's like, first off, I know that a lot of it's just draft hype, but I think that the dude is like, has potential to step in. He's probably not a tackle in the NFL. Everyone says he's got short arms. Again, I'm not grinding tape, as I've said 50,000 times. Now there's like the top prospects. This is like a great example. The top prospects available at this spot are all defensive linemen. So going defensive line in the first round. I want to tell you, by the way, one thing I like less about Mock Draft Database is I want to be able to click on this guy and see height, weight. Let me see that Mock Draft Database. It's not a perfect spot here. The Seahawks have gone, or I'll blame myself, gone defensive line, offensive line, filled 2 of the biggest needs I think the team has. 2 guys that I think step in and play day one. Quarterback, how long ago did yours go? How annoyed can I be with myself on this? I don't even know how to I know on the... There we go. Let's go this way. Yeah, I think he went pretty early. Okay. He goes pick 67 to Cleveland. It's a tough break. I just don't have any... There's only one guy left. Curtis Rourke is the last guy on this list that I would be excited about. That I would be like, I would like to see I would not be upset if I saw the Seahawks draft a guy like a round early. Boy. I might have fucked myself. If I like Jaden Higgins a bit. I'm going to draft Jaden Higgins just because I'm going to move this on. I don't love the pick, but I'm going to draft Jaden Higgins. And I can hate it later, but I will tell you, I'm not as thrilled with myself. Jaden Higgins is a big target. This would be a guy that would make a lot of sense if the Seahawks moved on from DK Metcalf, a guy who might be able to step in and fill a little bit of that role. Thrilled, by the way, to see Dylan Gabriel fall off the board. I'm not a believer in Dylan Gabriel. I also think that's like an underrated difficulty that NFL teams have. Implementing a left-handed quarterback is difficult. It's tough. Would I have been thrilled if the Seahawks drafted Michael Penix and had to do it with Michael Penix? Sure. But I don't want his backup to be left-handed too, frankly. I'm surprised more teams don't do that. I don't care about this trade. I will say this is not shaping out to be the kind of draft that I wanted. The other Kobe Bryant is available here. Yeah, I think this is the spot where I would start considering like I think the only guy left that I'm super interested at quarterback is Curtis Rourke. I believe that I heard, by the way, I thought I heard that Rourke had like a torn ACL all season, played with a torn ACL all season. And so it's possible that he's a guy that you can put on injured reserve. You're going to want to redshirt this guy. If you get a fourth round pick, you don't want that guy starting the first year anyway. He's certain. Did someone take, oh, I was going to say shit. Did someone take Curtis Rourke already? Tyler Shuck is a guy that people are, I just don't have the excitement about him. I'm taking Curtis Rourke. It could be Tyler Shuck. I'm letting him sit for a year. Probably on IR if I'm right about that, and he does have a torn ACL. I'm bombing this draft. There's no doubt that I'm bombing in this draft. Am I going to draft Kobe Bryant to play alongside Nope, he's gone now. Having two guys in your defensive backfield be named Kobe Bryant would be very exciting, I gotta say. Okay, so I think that the at this point, Terrence Ferguson. I mean, once again, we're at this point in the draft where it's like even the guys that I like are mostly gone. Um, my list is certainly different than other folks. Oh, Kobe King is, I think, a legit. Oh, well, for name recognition, let's take a Rondé Gatz in the second. I remember his dad on. I believe his dad was very heavily. This is a reason to draft the guy. People like Rondé Gatz in the second. I can like him for a dumb reason. There's legit draft and analysts that like him for legit reasons. Was his dad heavily featured on Tecmo Super Bowl? I believe he was. I know Mark Duper was. I liked trying to bring the Dolphins to give Dan Marino a Super Bowl. That was because the Seahawks teams were so bad on those Tecmo Super Bowl games. I mean, by the way, I probably could have gotten Curtis Rourke here, it would seem. Is this a spot? Do you draft Trevor Etienne or a running back of some type? I don't know Holland Pierce very well. Let's see what Holland Pierce. I'm just gonna go straight off measurements. 6'8". I like that. 6'8", 345. If I see a just a fucking high effort and character, can you give me athleticism? Lumbering mover at times. It's tough. It's tough. All right, you can't. I don't think you can be a Clint Kubiak. I don't think I'm going interior. Yeah, we could go interior line again. We'll draft Miles Frazier. Because Zabel, by the way, Gray Zabel is also reputedly a very good center prospect. So maybe at that point you have Gray Zabel be your starting center, and you figure out left and right guard from the guys that are on the roster already, or a free agent signing. We'll reject this. This is not going to be. I'm not going to like this draft nearly as much. I will acknowledge that. Comment how much you hate it. I'm happy to hear it. And I can take it, by the way. I don't know if you know this. I've been going viral as a comedian recently. I can handle negative comments now. I've got plenty of negative comments. I can handle negative comments now. Okay. We're down to our final two picks. See, Jabbar Muhammad's a little bit higher here. My suspicion is that Jabbar Muhammad's going to actually go significantly higher than that, like fourth or fifth round. I'm going to draft him here because I think it's like a pretty good value. They're only giving me a B. Mock draft database, you're only giving me a B. The guy was fucking 20 picks below his rank, or past his. I was 20 picks later than his rank. How are you giving me a B? Also, by the way, like I want the Seahawks to draft a running back, but I'm not even convinced I know what makes a good running back anymore. If you get me a guy, I want to see the combine. The combine will give me actual strong opinions. I'm willing to accept some of these big board rankings. Kobe King was the guy you have not addressed. You have not. I think I like Kobe King. I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna draft him here. I'm going to draft him here. The Seahawks need depth at linebacker. They might need a second starting linebacker. You're probably not looking for that guy in the 7th round, but I'm drafting Kobe King. One of 3 A's I received. The Gray Zabel at 50 pick got an A+. So yeah, this is where, and we'll see if they. I don't remember if they give you a full grade or what on here on. Yeah, so Kenneth Grant, Gray Zabel, Jaden Higgins, Curtis Rourke, Rondé Gadsden, Miles Frazier, Jabbar Muhammad, and Kobe King. I don't feel good about that. I feel a lot better about the PFF version. Please tell me which one you liked more. Thank you for listening, by the way. I'm going to end the podcast here.